Well, to shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to have this phone with Dr. Abdel Hamid Abaza, former assistant to Minister of Health. Good afternoon, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, Doctor,
Could you raise the voice a little bit because I hardly hear you?
Okay, doctor. Can you hear me like this? Okay, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Yes.
Still with difficulty, but we can proceed if it's possible.
Okay. Dr. Abaza, now President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi delivered a speech before the Africa Health ExCon 2023 today. And during the speech, President said that Egypt will be declared free of virus C according to the World Health Organization standards. What's your comment on this?
Well, my comment, first of all, that it's very important that this is the second conference or the second edition of this. I think it's an international conference because it's very important that it is held in Egypt for the second time with the full success of the first edition and the second edition as well. The health services and the health sector finds itself very progressive in the last few years, actually. One of the most important items, additional to the 14 items which was held in the health, is the elimination of the virus C, which we consider it as doctors and as official responsible people, the plague of this country and of this continent and of the world as a whole. Because it was a disaster, this virus C, killing so many people, disabling hundreds and thousands are unable to perform their work. Economically, the economic impact was very bad. The health impact was very bad. And there were efforts done to eliminate or at least to reduce. This was our dream, to reduce the incidence of the virus C and to treat the patients suffering from this disease and its complications. But we found that by the push of the Egyptian government and His Excellency President Sisi himself, caring very much about the health in Egypt and in Africa as well, we found ourselves moving very quickly to target the elimination of the virus C, which I think it should be declared immediately by the World Health Organization, because as doctors and as ex-officials, we find now that there is no patients with virus C in Egypt, exactly as what happened with the poliomyelitis. So declaring Egypt free from that and transferring this tremendous experience to Africa and to the Arab world and to the Middle East is very important, whether by methods of diagnosis, by the campaign of the analysis and the laboratory tests and the ultrasounds and all these things, and the treatment itself, which was extremely expensive when we began the campaign, but gradually, because of the companies which produced the drugs in different forms, the prices has been reduced to less than 10% of its original price, which aided very much to get rid out of this virus and this horrible disease, which affected nearly 40% of the people.
Yes, Dr. Abaza, also the president said in his speech today that Egypt is keen to transfer the expertise of its expertise to African nations. So what is the kind of cooperation or the exchange of experience between Egypt and the African nations in the field of health?
First of all, to transfer the know-how of the disease and how to diagnose the virus and how to diagnose the carriers of the virus, because these are more dangerous than the patients in themselves. Secondly, that medical doctors from Africa should be trained in Egypt in the centers which worked in this field of hepatitis C and the elimination of hepatitis C, to be trained how to deal with the patient, how to deal with the carrier, how to diagnose, the laboratory tests needed, the ultrasound, to put the levels of the patients who need treatment and those who do not need treatment. And then finally, of course, the using of the drugs and the tablets, which was produced by the Egyptian companies with a very low price compared to that in the United States and in Europe. And I think that the drug policy which Egypt is taking now to spread all over Africa and the Arab countries is very successful, and it will help in this campaign to eliminate the virus C in so many countries in Africa, because it's always, we have the same problems, we have the same diseases, we have the same circumstances, the same environment. So we need to collaborate together and to use this successful experience of the Egyptian doctors and the Egyptian centers and universities.
Yes, the president also said that Egypt is ready to play a positive role in the development of the health sector in Africa. Also developing the health sector in Africa and the countries in Africa that need support in the field of health. Could you name some of them, or what is the role that is played by Egypt in order to support these countries?
Well, what I know, actually, that there are certain hospitals and certain clinics in certain specialties are carried out in some countries. I cannot recall them actually, but I know that there are so many African countries. The hospitals are carried out by Egyptian doctors, and there are clinics in Sudan, in Guinea, in Ethiopia. That's what I remember actually, and in other countries, building up of hospitals, working out the hospitals, sending doctors to train the African colleagues for different specialties, not only the hepatitis C, but in surgery, in ophthalmology, in nephrology. And there are centers of nephrology and renal transplantation and treatment of kidney diseases in so many African countries. I know that there are so many activities in this field, and also the training of the African doctors in the universities of Egypt.
Yes, Dr. Abaza, how is it important for Egypt to host the second Africa Health ExCon today, this year? The importance of this, this is one of the largest annual medical exhibitions and conference in Africa.
From my point of view, to Egypt to host such a conference has got more than one benefit. First of all, to give an impression to the world that Egypt is one of the leading countries in the medical services as a whole, whether medical doctors or drugs or treatments or the blood transfusions, the plasma, the laboratories, all these things. Number two, it gives a political stability and political heaviness to the Egyptian country that everything is safe. We find around us in the African countries there are so many turmoils. So Egypt is safe and stable politically and from all points of view. So this is a message to the world. Plus, of course, the medical part, which is very important, that Egypt is leading and Egypt is taking its real role, which has been not removed, but a little bit hidden from the world, that still Egypt is leading the train of this part of the medical field, because the Egyptian doctors and the Egyptian medical workers are always on the top notch in all over the countries, even the European and the American countries.
Yes, of course, Dr. Abaza. And the event this year is held under the theme Placing Africa as the Continental Hub for Health Innovation and Trade. I thank you very much for your valuable information, Dr. Abdelhamid Abaza, former assistant for the Minister of Health. Thank you very much for joining us over the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break during which we are going to follow the afternoon prayers, and I'm going to be back with you.